In a world where big cars seem to always clog up little city streets and parking lots, perhaps what we really need is a return to the basics. 4 wheels, 2 doors, and one tiny electric microcar.
Hey everyone, Micah here with Electrek, and today we're testing out the cute little Citroen Ami electric tiny car. Come along with us while we check it out.
Meet the Citroen Ami. My wife and I rented one for a week on the Greek island of Santorini. I was initially a little bit worried about storage space for our bags since it's such a small vehicle and we picked it up right after landing at the airport, but it's actually got a neat little storage area that fit my wife's trolley, and my backpack just went at her feet in the rest of the storage area. There's no trunk, so the shorter your legs, the more storage room you have. It's definitely fun as a rental, but having it for a whole week meant that we could really get a sense of what it's like to use the Citroen Ami as your only form of transportation. I'd definitely recommend renting one too, and I'm not just saying that so Peer Gross doesn't charge my credit card extra once they see what kind of roads we took this thing on, and the fact that I didn't register my wife as an additional driver, even though she also got to enjoy some behind-the-wheel experience of this weird little car.
Now, I'm not sure it's fair to call the Citroen Ami a weird car. Not because it's not weird, it is, but rather because it's not really a car. It's what's called a quadricycle in Europe. It's a different class of vehicle, basically one step below a typical car, and that allows it to sort of wiggle out of a lot of the regulations that a typical motor vehicle would have to qualify for. That makes it a lot cheaper, but also not necessarily as safe as a real car either.
So it might not be a weird little car, but it's definitely weird and little. We were getting looks everywhere we went, and lots of people would stop to take pictures or ask us about it. And despite it looking admittedly kind of funny, its small size was actually great for wiggling through those tight Greek streets, so I can see how it would be perfect for many cities. I've tested several other electric microcars in places like New York City, and if you can get past the feeling of being smaller than everyone else, then they're actually super convenient for being able to slip past narrow places. You have to make a few sacrifices, such as small tires and limited creature comforts, but the Ami still works quite well most of the time, despite my wife repeatedly thinking it wouldn't make it up hills from a stop.
Does it go right here?
Yeah, you can make it.
Of course I can make it. This thing's got deep horses. As the tires spin.
Told you might not make it.
Microcars are also great when you can't find a real parking spot, like in this parking lot that was so full of people circling like sharks trying to find a spot that I just ended up parking in a little half spot left before the road, which wouldn't have fit a normal-sized car. That happened a few times actually, where I'd wind up just putting the car in some non-official spot that was out of the way enough to not be a problem.
Now, the whole point of the Citroen Ami is that it's small, light, easy to drive, and most importantly, cheap. This whole thing cost around 7,400 euros, or about $8,000, which is crazy affordable. It's also meant to be easy to drive. In France, where this vehicle is from, you can drive it as young as 14 years old with a moped license.
Yeah, at $8,000 or so, there's a lot to like here. You'll never find a real electric car for anywhere close to that price. Of course, this isn't a real electric car either, but it is real and it is electric, meaning you'll have basically zero fuel cost and nearly zero maintenance, at least compared to combustion engine cars.
Now, how did they get the Citroen Ami so cheap? Well, it's designed to be as inexpensive as possible to produce. That's one of the reasons it looks so funny. It's totally symmetrical around the vehicle. I mean, why waste money on a bunch of different molds for the bumper, the front fascia, the 2 different fenders up front, and then double it up for the rear as well, when you can have literally just one mold that does all of that for the front and the rear. It's the same thing for the doors too. That's why the passenger door opens conventionally, but the driver's side door is a suicide door opening backwards. Because the doors are actually symmetrical, they can be swapped from one side to the other. It only takes one mold. And yeah, they save some money on some creature comforts as well. You know, there's no AC, there's no electric locks for the doors, there's no electric windows. The windows just fold up like this. Now, another way that they saved money was by having some pretty low performance here. The motor, it's only 6 kilowatts, it's about 8 horsepower. The vehicle only gets up to about 28 miles an hour or 45 kilometers per hour. The battery, it's not very big either. It's a 48 volt unit, kind of like in my electric bicycles. It's got 5.5 kilowatt hours of capacity. That's good for about 75 kilometers, 40, 45 miles. That's pretty much enough for a city car like this. I mean, we're driving around a 20 kilometer long island here. How far do you need to go?
Despite the motor cutting out and entering regeneration above 45 kilometers per hour or 28 miles per hour, keeping you at that limit, I accidentally discovered a way to go much faster. The regeneration doesn't work when the battery is fully charged. It's a safety feature to prevent you from overcharging it if you happen to go down a hill with a full battery, which is exactly what I did. I didn't have the GoPro on, unfortunately, which is why I'm just showing you some pretty clips of Greece while I tell you what happened, but bombing down a hill to the coast right after charging meant that the motor wasn't doing engine braking, and I actually got it up to 73 kilometers per hour or 45 miles per hour, though by the time my wife got her phone out to record, I had slowed down a bit. But still, it was an awesome experience to get this thing going up that fast. I would say that charging up was one of the few areas that was not an advantage of this little vehicle, but that's really only since we did not have a garage to park and charge in at our hotel. All we had was a dirt parking lot. I had originally checked the map before we arrived and saw there were a pile of electric car charging stations around the small island, so I wasn't worried. But when we arrived, I realized I should have read more about the vehicle itself, since I found out that it cannot charge from a typical level 2 EV charging station. Instead, it's got a level 1 plug, basically the same thing you've got on a toaster. For the Americans in the room, this is what a European wall plug looks like. So that meant we just had to take the opportunity and find plugs while we were out and about, instead of just charging it overnight in a garage like you'd do if you owned it. In one case, that meant charging up at a Chinese restaurant we ate at, which was very nice of the owners to allow us to do. A couple other times, we ran an extension cord into the hotel lobby and managed to park close enough to the front gate to make it work. Eventually, we found that there was one single electric car charger on the entire island that had a level 1 wall outlet on it, so we were able to make it work in the end, but I can see how this would be a problem if you live in an apartment and don't have somewhere to charge each day. Let me give you a quick tour of the Ami here. Oh, I forgot to unlock this door. Alright, I'll just get it from the inside. The door handles, by the way, are these ribbons. These unlatch the door latch, and you've got another handle here to pull the door. On the inside, we've gotten it a bit dusty, but you've got seating for 2. Passenger seat is further back to give you more storage up here. There's also that nice little trolley area where we put our carry-on luggage. Driver's seat's a little further forward, but you can scooch it back and forth. We've got our extension cord back there. The controls are super simple. It's nice, it's like an amusement park ride. They show you which pedal makes it go faster and which pedal makes it go slower. Up here you've got 3 buttons only. Those are your hazard lights, fan, and the defroster. On the actual steering wheel there's nothing, no buttons, not even a horn. That's on the other side. Around here you've got controls for your window wipers and your horn. And that's about it. You've got a tiny little display up here. Your gear shifters are down here on the side. And that's literally all there is. Oh, there's a whole bunch of storage up here on the dash for some reason. And the driver's side door is a suicide door. Cool thing is these windows can actually be closed and latched from the outside. Charging issues aside, I would say the Citroen Ami handled everything we threw at it. At one point, Waze even took us on a detour off the main road due to what seemed like a major traffic jam elsewhere on the island.
Sure, this is the road. This is a donkey road.
The road slowly got worse and we were just full-on off-roading. The Citroen Ami doesn't have a spare tire, and it's got about a fist worth of ground clearance, but fortunately we made it through this little bit of off-roading and the car seemed to handle it just fine, even if the ride wasn't as comfortable as I would have hoped.
Okay, it's my last morning here in Greece, and I want to go visit ancient Thera. The only way to get there is up this crazy steep mountain road. It's got 22 switchbacks. It's something like 19% grade peak. My wife thinks we're not going to make it up the road, that I'm going to get stuck somewhere, so she decided not to join me. I think we're going to make it though. The other thing I should mention is this is a cobblestone road the whole way up, so it's just another test for the Ami with its suspension. Okay, I will admit this is starting to look a little bit daunting. I really hope someone doesn't come the other way. Oh man, these cobblestones are killing me. In case you're wondering how I get those POV perspectives, it's actually going pretty well considering. Oh, we got to a pavement section. All right, this is beautiful. Ooh, this is much better. Yeah, there's no guardrail here, so I better be a little careful. Oh my gosh, look at that view. Holy. Alright, there should really be holy sh. Alright, that's scaring me a little bit. There's literally no guardrail on this huge drop. Oh my gosh. I'm actually more worried about the way down now than the way up here. I'm putting my life into these Citroen brakes on the way down. Okay, amazing view, but jeez, that's kind of scary. Hold on. This view here is too good. Oh my gosh. Oh wow, look at that.
I lost count of all the switchbacks, but I eventually did make it all the way up the mountain, proving not only that the Citroen Ami can climb a mountain, but perhaps more importantly for men everywhere, proving my wife wrong. Of course, that turned out to be the easy part, as after spending some enjoyable time up on the mountain, heading back down was even more of a white-knuckle affair when you're driving a tin can down those winding curves without a guardrail in sight. But the cool part that kept a smile on my face during the descent was watching the battery's available range meter actually increase as the regenerative braking added a few more kilometers of range to the battery on the way down.
Now I'm really enjoying the Citroen Ami, but there are some serious downsides here as well. For one thing, it's not really a car, and yet you still have many of the disadvantages of a car. For example, I'm used to riding around on scooters and e-bikes and motorcycles, and it's easy to wiggle around traffic, but here I still get stuck in traffic unless the road is wide enough that I can wiggle around it. Next, there's the issue of parking. That's one of the reasons I love my bikes and scooters, is that I can park anywhere I can fit. Here, we've got to circle around sometimes for 10 or 20 minutes in the crowded city areas to find a place to park. Next, there's this giant sunroof here. There's no shade to pull over it, and so sometimes when the sun is at the perfect angle, you're just getting blasted in the face by sun. It'd be nice if there was some sort of shade here, or even if it opened too, but instead you just got this massive window. And of course there's the range issue. Now if you own this vehicle and you have it at home charging each night, I don't think you're going to run into an issue with range. You know, 75 kilometers, 45 miles, that's a lot for a city each day. But if you're in the situation we were in where we didn't have charging at the hotel, you might run into an issue because you're going to be looking for places to charge. It's only got level 1 charging, and so you can't really charge up at most charging stations for cars unless they have a wall outlet plug as well.
Also, there's no rear mirror.
Oh yeah, you're right. No wonder I was using my side mirrors so much.
You just noticed that?
Yeah, everything is so weird in this car. The small things like that don't quite stick out.
Okay, so what's the takeaway here? Look, the Citroen Ami is a fun little alternative to a car, but it's not perfect. The seats are not very padded, the power's not much to write home about, and you've got to find a wall plug somewhere to charge from. But there are also lots of perks here. It's cheap, it does everything I'd want it to do in a city, and it'd be a great alternative to a bike or a scooter on days you don't want to get rained on. I'm not even complaining about the lack of air conditioning, since at least it has a fan and the windows are pretty breezy, and it even has a heater for the winter. Now it still may be too little or of too small of a cargo area for many people, but when you consider it for purely local use, like in a city, I think it could work for basic errands and around the town trips that you just don't need a bigger, more annoying, and more costly car for. It's not right for everyone, but I can see it being right for a lot of people.
Thanks for watching, everyone. We hope you enjoyed that test ride in the Citroen Ami. If you did, why don't you give this video a thumbs up? Don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss any of our future electric vehicle videos. We'll see you here next time. We are testing out a cute little